So under Unit 1, with regards to the concept of management, we were supposed to deal with evolution of management thought from the classical to modern theories that we've already seen, and the different functions of management, your planning, organizing, staffing, directing, controlling, right? So we've seen those. And we have also talked about management as a dynamic process, and we've studied the overview of the different functional areas of management. And in the previous few sessions, we had also introduced the concept of social stakeholding. We saw the meaning of the term social stakeholding, we saw the different stakeholders, and we saw the duties that a business has to perform with regards to ensuring or with regards to monitoring the interests of your different stakeholders. And the last topic we're supposed to deal with under this unit is with regards to managerial ethics. Okay, so let's move on to this concept. So talking about managerial ethics, the term entirely managerial ethics, the word ethics, it has been derived from a Greek word ethos, E-T-H-O-S, which basically means to determine what is good and what is bad. Therefore, when we're talking about the term managerial ethics as a whole, it means about discussing the duties of the managers, the work that they're doing, and differentiating between what is good and what is bad. Okay, so according to the word meaning of ethics refers to character, and then guiding beliefs, the standards or ideals, or the principles that prevail in a particular group or community, or among a couple number of people, or even under individuals. So managerial ethics is basically, it refers to the moral principles or the rules or the principles of behavior which should govern the moral conduct of persons. So basically managerial ethics, it refers to the character or the guiding blocks that should help the managers in order to differentiate or to give them some kinds of moral conduct. Now, every profession or group frames certain do's and don'ts for its member. Every kind of business, every kind of activity, there are certain things that you can do and there are certain things that you cannot do. So these are mostly going to be specified by the group itself. Okay, so just like in case of a college also, there are certain things you can do as students and certain things which you have been prohibited to do within the college, and these have been framed to you by the institution. Similarly, in case of managers also, they have to follow certain rules of conduct or they have to follow certain guidelines while they are carrying out the work. Now, the members are going to be given a standard in which they are supposed to operate, and these standards that have been given to the members, they are going to be influenced by the prevailing economic as well as the social situation. So they'll be given the rules and guidelines which will be prescribed or which will be determined based upon certain different situations. And the codes of conduct are periodically reviewed in order to suit the changing situation, meaning the codes of conduct will not remain the same forever. They're going to be keeping on changing the rules and the codes of conduct depending upon the situation. And the codes of conduct are going to be reviewed in order to suit not just the situation, but also to suit the different economic conditions and social conditions. Now, earlier, businesses were just supposed to concentrate only on increasing profitability, as we've already seen from the management schools, right? When we studied the classical thought, we saw how when they started with management thought, when they started with the concept of management, they were mostly thinking about earning profits, and how they decided that the main aim of any business was just to earn profits to ensure that the investors got returns on their investments and that the company was growing. That was the main idea that they followed. However, as days passed, we saw that eventually they moved from profit making to ensuring that the employees are happy or satisfied with the work and the other benefits that they are providing them. So criticism from the society has been made to the business in order to amend its priorities. Therefore, these days, business is now supposed to help with society, to help the society in its development along with its aim of profit sharing. So as we've already seen under social stakeholding, the business can no longer concentrate only upon earning of profits, but now they have to also help the society to grow, to develop, along with trying to developed its aim of profit earning. And managers also have started having their ethics according to the expectations of the society. Managers can no longer work just as per the expectations of the company, but now they have to work also along with the expectations of the society, meaning they are not only going to be there in order to take decisions that will help the company, but they have to take decisions also which will help the society as a whole. So let's look into the various elements of managerial ethics. So these are the basic elements of business ethics while running a business. So the first one is commitment of the top management. Now, the top management, we've already seen, is the one that is going to be taking most of the decisions, and they are the one that decides or guides the actions that are to be carried out by different people. So if the top management supports the ethical behavior of the employees, then they will certainly be followed, which means that if the top management appreciates ethical behavior, that is, if one person is, let's say, he is doing good, coming on time to work, and then not using the resources of the organization for his own personal agenda. And if the company appreciates those particular workers, that is, they give them some form of bonus, let's say, it could be monetary or non-monetary form of appreciation, it leads to motivation. And because people realize that when they're doing something for the benefit of the organization and not for their personal motives, it leads to an acceptance, a form of acceptance and appreciation by the organization. Then in that situation, the other employees will certainly try to follow the ethical behaviors that have been supported. And the top management should be strongly committed, especially towards ethical conduct. And also they should guide the lower level people, the lower level subordinates, in order to follow the ethical behavior. And the second point that we see is devising code of conduct. Now, it is essential to define what is ethical and what is not. It is essential for the organization to determine what can be done and what cannot be done when they are working. So a code of conduct should be devised, and a set of ethics should be set for the employees that should be followed by them. There should be very strict rules that should be followed, and in case these rules should be followed by everybody, including the top management, and these ethics are to be brought out in writing, especially for the guidance of employees. A very important thing to note here is that the principles of ethics that have been issued by the organization, that have been issued by the management, they should be brought out in writing. They should be black and white. They cannot be just words that you pass from one person to another, because words, when they pass through, just like sometimes your lessons also, you tend to forget them. So, however, if they are printed form and if you can see them on a regular basis, ultimately you will remember those even without reading them over and over again. And then the third element that we can see there is compliance mechanism. Now, in order to implement ethical values in the working place, there should be a certain kind of mechanism in order to monitor this, meaning there should be a certain kind of mechanism to monitor whether or not the employees are following the ethical codes. So there should be corporate ethics in recruitment, selection, training, and so on. And the employees also should be free to bring it to the notice of the organization if there is some deviation with regards to implementation of the ethical standards. So even with regards to recruitment, selection, and all these, there should be corporate ethics, meaning we should not employ people just because we like them, but we should employ them based on their experience, right? Based on their qualifications. And another very important part with regards to compliance is that it should be provided to the employees a chance to bring up any kinds of deviations if they notice in the organization. That is, if they notice any of the managers doing something unethical, or if they notice any of their superiors doing something unethical, then they should be allowed to talk about these unethical standards in order to help ensure that the firm is always maintaining some kind of ethical standard in the organization. And the fourth point is involvement of employees. Now, there should be an involvement of employees at all levels while ethical programs and policies are involved, because it is the employees who are going to be the ones who are implementing the ethical values. Therefore, their involvement is very essential. We cannot make rules, we cannot make regulations without informing the employees first. We have to tell them what it is that we want to do. And then after you've told the employees what is the plan, what is the idea, Then they will give you their feedback, and then after that you can finally finalize the policies or programs, ethical programs, policies that are to be there. Okay, now you should always involve the employees because they are the ones who are going to be following the policies, right? So you cannot just make some policies which cannot be accepted by other people. Therefore, you should involve the employees also in the creation of your managerial ethic programs. And the last element for managerial ethics is measurement of results. Now, of course, it's going to be quite difficult to measure the ethical results because one person may be different, another person will be different. And because we're having human elements, so it brings out a lot more stress and a lot more problems. However, still, efforts should be made to find out whether the work is carried out as per the ethical standards, as per the ethical values or not. Therefore, the top management should make their best efforts to meet the employees from time to time, and they should talk with the employees, discuss with the employees about future programs of actions. Okay, next are the factors affecting managerial ethics. Now, basically, the factors which influence business ethics, it answers the question as to why or what is the reason businessmen opt for managerial ethics. So the reason why businessmen or why the managers, they opt for managerial ethics is because of these 5 reasons. Now, the first factor or the first reason is personal values. So personal values, they have a bearing on the ethics of a person as he follows even in his professional career. If as a person you have always had the ethics, you have always had the behavior, you've always had the habit of waking up early, right? You've always had the habit of waking up, let's say at 6 or 5 o'clock in the morning, then even when you go to work also, things won't be changing, right? Even when you go to work also, you will still have the attitude of waking up because it's a habit. Therefore, with the very important factor with regards to managerial ethics is that of personal value, keeping in mind that personal values have a very huge impact on people. And at the same time, these personal values will impact their professional career as well. So the persons with high moral values and principles tend to follow ethical practices in business. Also, people who do not cheat, people who are not corrupt in their personal lives will bring those values into their professional lives as well. And as a result, they will not cheat people, they will not cheat their customers, and they'll not be corrupt when carrying out their work. And generally, the values followed by superiors are also adopted by subordinates. Another very important thing to note is that what is done by the higher ups is what will be followed by the lower downs, meaning that if they realize that one of their superiors is corrupt, or if one of their superiors is quite lazy and lethargic with carrying out the work, then they also ultimately become that way themselves. If they see that the superior doesn't care about, let's say, providing reports or writing a report or giving them a list of all the expenses, then the subordinates also will tend to act as the superior is acting. So, in fact, not just the personal value of the individual, of the employee as themselves, the personal value of the people who are working around them also affect their managerial ethics. Therefore, even the behavior of competitors also has a huge influence on business ethics. And the next factor we have is social value. Now, social value, they are very important with regards to business ethics, and they exercise a considerable influence on the business ethics. So the society in which high moral values are practiced, then in that situation, businessmen will also follow ethical behavior. If the society that you're living in doesn't care about values, if they are going to be cheating their consumers, if the government itself is corrupt, the government itself is cheating the people, then in that situation, the businessmen also tend to act in the same manner. Therefore, social value is very important, and it's said to have a huge influence on business ethics. And remember, if the society in which the business is functioning has a high value for moral or high moral values, in that situation, it also affects the business, meaning businessmen will follow the ethical behavior of the society. And then the third point is government rules and regulations. Now, government rules and regulations also force the businessmen to follow certain ethical standards. Now, a businessman is expected to control the industrial pollution that is arising from his unit, from his factories, meaning he has to control air pollution, water pollution, land pollution as well. So the ethical norms fixed for different activities will have to be obeyed in order to avoid government interference. Now, if the government is not having proper ethics, if the government is not setting up rules and standards, then in that situation, managers also will not have any ethics with regards to the disposal of the waste that is from their unit. Therefore, it's very important to note that government rules and regulations should be quite strict in order to ensure that the managers also follow certain guidelines. And the next point is with regards to industry norms. So different industries will be setting up a code of conduct to be followed by their members. And the professionalization of management has in fact helped a lot in improving ethical values. And now we have professional managers who follow more ethical values as compared to non-professional managers. So when you are guiding, when you are helping, when you are teaching people in order to be professional managers, when you're teaching the management upon how to carry out the different codes of conduct, then it'll lead to proper and effective managerial ethics. So it's very important to remember to note with regards to industry norms. So professionalization of management has helped a lot, especially in improving ethical values, and it's been noticed that professional managers are the ones who have more ethical values as opposed to non-professional managers, as opposed to people who do not have the proper training to become a manager. And the last factor with regards to managerial ethics is legislation. The government can pass legislation to control the behavior as well as the dealings of the businessmen. The government has the full right, the full obligation to control the activities of businessmen, to control their behavior and how they are dealing with other people. They may be obliged to, the businessmen may be forced or they may be obliged to follow certain ethical standards while they are undertaking business activities, and certain restrictions also may be put on the unethical behavior of the businessmen. So if they are dealing, who are they dealing with? What are the different categories of people they're dealing with? Whether they are dealing only with people, whether dealing on the good way, or whether they are dealing with convicts, whether they're dealing with proper people. Okay, so all of these restrictions may be put especially in order to control any unethical behavior on the part of the businessmen. So next you have managerial ethics and social stakeholding. Moving on. Now we're discussing about managerial ethics and social stakeholding. What is the relationship between managerial ethics and that of social stakeholding? So social stakeholding is possible only when the management decides to take up issues concerning stakeholders. So as we've seen already, when we're talking about social stakeholding, it is possible only when the managers at the top or when the top level managers decide to take up social stakeholding. And this is possible only when the managers have some kind of ethics or some kind of values imbibed within them, which means that only when they feel the need to give back, only in that situation will we have social stakeholding. Therefore, we are saying that social stakeholding and managerial ethics in fact go hand in hand, or somewhat they are depending upon each other. Okay, so ethics, they help managers to take decisions which are right and based upon the values. And in fact, ethics will provide guidance to distinguish between what is right and what is wrong. So as we've seen earlier also when we just started, we talked about how managerial ethics, the word ethics has been derived from the Greek word ethos, which means what is right and what is wrong. Therefore, managerial ethics will provide a guidance to determine what should be done, what should not be done, what is right and what is wrong. Therefore, we can see that managerial ethics and also social stakeholding are going to be dependent upon each other, and often these terms can be used almost interchangeably, and they can be in fact synonymous with one another. So there are certain different points of reconciliation between managerial ethics and social stakeholding. So firstly, social stakeholding depends entirely upon the ethical standards of the managers. And it's felt that the managers who are acting on ethics will take decisions which are right and help the stakeholders. For example, if you have a manager who is full of good values, who is very good, a good manager, he's not corrupt, he doesn't do his personal work when he's on the job. Okay, so he's a person who is instilled with various good values and ethics. Now, if this person realizes that the firm or the manufacturing, the organization, the firm that he's working in, if the business is, let's say, it is emitting gases, and as a result of that, these gases are released in the atmosphere, and it leads to air pollution. Okay, if he realizes that the firm has been emitting gases which leads to air pollution, and if he takes steps to control that, then it is beneficial to the environment, which means it is for the sake and it's helping these stakeholders. Remember when we were talking about social stakeholding, protecting the environment is one of the different measures which are a part of social stakeholding. So it is only a person with high values or with good ethics who will be capable of taking up social stakeholding. And additionally, an organization is a means to reach social stakeholding. Therefore, when an organization decides to help their different stakeholders in whatever way possible, it is because ethical values are given due weightage in its working. Again, as we've been saying over and over, social stakeholding and managerial ethics are somewhat depending upon each other, and they're almost synonymous with each other. Therefore, an organization which decides to help its stakeholders and all, which is trying to keep in mind the interest of the stakeholders, not just the owners, but the government, the consumers, okay, all of these different areas. This is only because the management has ethical values, and they also keep in mind that ethical values are given due consideration when they are carrying out their work. And additionally, managerial decisions in the day-to-day operations may be influenced by social stakeholding. Now, it is not just social stakeholding that is affected by managerial ethics, but even managerial ethics can be affected by social stakeholding. So, keeping that in mind, when decisions are taken under any kind of policy to help the stakeholders, then the ethics of the organization will play a very important role. Okay, because only people, remember again, once again, I'm repeating this over and over again, only managers who have high values will be capable of taking up or helping in case of social stakeholding. Okay, so based on this, we can see that social stakeholding and managerial ethics influence each other, and they are quite dependent upon each other, and they have a very strong relationship with each other. And finally, implications of ethics in business. Now, it is said that good business ethics promote good business. If you are providing your consumers with products that are of good quality, that are of good quantity, these are good business ethics, and because of that, your consumers will never leave you. So it promotes good business as well. So a highly ethical and integrated organization can get various benefits when the ethical principles are well incorporated in its working. And the benefits we can see here, firstly, it creates rapport with the public. So creates a good relationship with the public when you have good business ethics. A highly ethical and integrated organization is honored and respected by the public, even if they do not have intimate knowledge of its actual working. So let's take an example. Let's say you do not have an iPhone, but now you want to buy an iPhone. Now you've never possessed an iPhone before. Now, so your decision is going to be based only upon the reviews of the people, and also based upon the awards that have been provided to the particular company. Okay, so you do not know exactly, you do not have an intimate knowledge of the actual working of the company, but because you believe the company, because the products have been good so far, therefore, you are going to respect that company, and as a result, you would invest in the products of that particular company. In fact, India Chamber of Commerce, they generally they award companies which reflect their sense of responsibility towards the society. Every year, the Indian Chamber of Commerce will hold an awards where they will reward the companies, they will award the companies who show some kind of responsibility in their workings towards the society. And ethical conduct, basically, it helps in building public confidence, and it also ensures that the response of the public will be much greater in comparison to those who have not felt the need to do so, meaning they with the help of the using of ethical conduct. Okay, when a company tries to keep in mind managerial ethics and keeps in mind social stakeholding, it'll help the company to build public confidence, meaning it will help the company to ensure that the public is satisfied or happy with the products that they are providing, and that their response will be greater, that the company's products will sell better than the product of the companies which do not opt for managerial ethics. And the second point we can see develop mutual faith between management and employees. So it's very important that there is a good relationship between the management and its employees. And therefore, in a highly ethical organization, the employees, in fact, will bring together leadership and efficiency in order to achieve the common goals, which are the organizational goals. So the employees will feel satisfied and they will have a kind of a sense of oneness between the employees and the management. Therefore, the management who knows how their employees think, management that cares about their employees, that believe in the employees, and that know how the employees work, how the employees think, how they would react to a particular situation. Then in that, and based upon the reactions and based upon the concept or the ideas of the employees, they should set a framework accordingly. And only social and moral uprightness can view employees' credibility. And in fact, ethics will protect people in dealing with other people. So when they're ethics helps people dealing with other people, meaning because there are certain rules, codes of conduct that should be followed, right? So when you're following those codes of conduct, it makes it easier for various employees within the firm to cooperate or to converse with other people in the firm. And the third point is better decision making. Now, management cannot become a profession so far as it does not follow good ethics. So a very important thing to remember is that if you want the management to become a profession, it should follow certain rules of conduct. Okay, that is how management can be termed as a profession, only when it follows certain rules or certain guidelines. So in an ethical organization, managers will examine that interests of public, customers, employees, and management, and ensure that the interests of all these stakeholders are in harmony with the general standards of ethics, that whatever the requirements of the public, the requirements of the customers, the requirements of the employees, and that of the management are moving together in the same direction, and at the same time that they are in conformance with the general standards. That means they're not going anywhere against the law. So they should study the implication of their decisions. The management should study the what happens after they've made the decisions, keeping in mind generally accepted ethical norms before applying them in practice. Okay, so the management should ensure that before they write down the norms, before they write down the guidelines that should be followed by the employees within the organization, they should take into consideration, they should study their decisions first, keeping in mind the generally accepted ethical norms. And the next point we have is economic success and development. Economic considerations are very important also for any organization when it comes to providing their services. So in order to sustain profits in the long run, the organizations must have some kind of an ethical or sound ethical base, because only when they have a sound ethical base, only when their ethics are proper, will they have better consumers. Okay, will their consumers trust them fully? So ethical conduct of business, it often leads to development and success. In fact, companies which follow ethical principles strictly, they may or may not bring results in the short term, but they will surely have positive impact in the long run. So sometimes firms may feel that there is no point in carrying out social stakeholding, there is no point in helping the society, but even though they are going to be suffering some kinds of disadvantages in the form of they're losing some amount of finance and being unable to earn any kinds of profits on the amount invested on social stakeholding, yet it's very important to note that even though they're losing right now, even though they're losing when they've started, yet in the future, because the organization and the public will have better sentiments towards them, so in the future they will be they'll be profiting from the social stakeholding. And next, you have positive consequences. Now, ethics in business, they lead to development of trust, and as a result, it lays foundations for relationship development and also positive future interactions. Therefore, as business will depend on the acceptance of rules, mutual trust, and fairness, therefore, ethical business is regarded as a good business. Now, on the other hand, unethical business practices can not only cause serious damage to business, but also to the people related to it in one way or another. So therefore, in short, what it means is that the organizations or the businesses which are carrying out social ethics, which have managers who are controlling the ethics and who are leading to proper ethics, it'll lead to very good business in the future, because it'll lead to development of trust and also proper relationship, a good relationship developed among the stakeholders and the company. So when it comes to unethical business practices, if you have a firm that is hiding the books of accounts, that's not being transparent with their accounts, not being true to their customers, in that situation they can only last for a short period of time. They can only make profits for a short period of time, and in the future surely the customers would start to shun them. Therefore, it's very important to follow managerial ethics, because it has quite a number of positive consequences in the future. So an organization that has a strong ethical program in place will certainly help in reducing the burden on the employees, while also deciding on various different alternatives. In fact, ethics will help the employees in developing a rationale between the actions that they undertake in the efficient performance of their duties. In fact, ethics will help the employees to understand why they are doing certain work, why they are producing this much or why they are not producing that much, why they are taking care of the environment. Okay, with the help of ethics, they'll be able to understand what are the reasons behind their actions while they're carrying out their duties. So it will certainly help in reducing unnecessary tensions and also unavoidable thoughts that an individual gets surrounded with when he is faced with different kinds of problems. Now, if you already have rules or guidelines that are there, that should be followed. So if a person is faced with some kinds of situations, they can follow the rules and guidelines with regards to how to solve the problem and how to solve these situations. So this helps him in concentrating more on his work and less on indecisive thoughts that come to his mind. Okay, and with that, we have come towards the end of your first unit, and we have concluded the discussion on managerial ethics and social stakeholding. Now, I will be providing you with notes. If I have not yet provided, I'll be providing you with notes with regards to this entire unit. So in addition to the notes that I am providing, I would also like you to search for your own. The notes that I'm providing is based upon the lessons that I've taken. So if there are still some things that you are unsure or unclear with, make sure you contact me. And there is a Q&A section also. You can contact me there. You can ask me the questions that you require there, and go through the notes. If there's anything else that you do not understand, make sure you get back to me.